and welcome to our show Radhika Talks. Today we speak to an exceptional woman, leader of the Minority Front, pharmacist, political activist, and honourable member of the KZN Legislature, Mrs. Shameen Thakur Rajbansi. Mrs. Rajbansi, thank you for being on our show today.
Thank you, Jessica.
Now, Mrs. Rajbansi, I'm very curious to know, how does a girl raised in Newcastle, excelled at school, did a pharmacy degree, became a pharmacist, and now ends up being the leader of the Minority Front?
Well, it's a long story, Jessica, but I always had that political urge in my blood from the time I was a little girl. I was a very good debater in school, and I think participating in the Jan Hofmeyr Freedom Speech Contest in the 1970s and 80s made me a free thinker and made me speak about the one subject that if you had any other platform, you would be jailed, but this was the platform that I could vent whatever that I wanted to at the government, and I could get away with it. But in the ushering of the democracy, I realized that it was my calling, and I had to do more than just sit behind a counter and make money. People had more problems, and I needed to fight elections and get to the corridors of power where I could help them more.
What a noble thought that was. And I was very surprised to see in your bio that you also did ballet in school. Now, that's not something every political leader can claim to have done.
Absolutely. When I was growing up, I liked dancing, but we didn't have many opportunities. And we were culturally strong as a community. Newcastle is a very rural place, but given the government of that time, we were just forced to go to public schools. We didn't have private schools that in Newcastle. However, there was a nunnery along the way to school, St. Dominic's Academy, and the nuns there taught ballet, and they also taught gymnastics. And because I was also very good on the sports field in school, I went there to learn a little more about, cartwheels and all kinds of things, and different gymnastic exercises. While I was doing that, I got attracted to the piano playing in the next room, as well as the ballet. And my dad, of course, couldn't afford paying for all those other extra tuitions, so he asked me to choose, and I chose ballet. So I did that to a level where, when we were graduating, a lady from the UK came, and then she judged us. And of course, I was placed second, so I got a silver medal.
And I'm sure that those lessons did not go to waste, because it held you in good stead when you were busy in the political scene. You had to tiptoe around a lot of politicians.
Absolutely. The balancing act I got from there.
Really trained you. Now, I think many of our viewers may not know is that Mrs. Rajbansi is actually the recipient of quite a number of awards, both locally here. I think there's like about 7 awards that's been bestowed upon her, and about 8 international awards that was conferred on her in India. But what really piqued my interest, Mrs. Rajbansi, was because you received an award from the gay community. Can you briefly tell us how that came to be?
Yeah, that I've been receiving for a few years in succession, and it's because I have been very outspoken about gay issues, gay rights, and I was the first politician to ensure, when I joined the Minority Front, to put that into the policy of our party. And thereafter in Parliament, I've always been fighting for gay rights and bringing about awareness, and I work with all the different gay associations and the fraternities, etc. And I think they recognize my commitment.
Now, no interview would be complete if we did not touch on the man himself, the late Mr. Amichand Rajbansi. And I, like many of our viewers out there, I'm sure, are very eager to know how you were introduced to Mr. Rajbansi.
Well, actually, indirectly by my patients, because when I wanted to enter politics, I did a survey and everybody wanted the minority front. And then I did some research and realized that the leader was Mr. Rajbansi. But people, their complaint was that he was always based in Chatsworth and not in Phoenix. And my patients didn't want other parties. They said they'd support me, but if I joined the minority front and spoke on their behalf. And so on further investigation as such, I realized that there was a councillor that was actually a rep as well, and he did some introducing, but I think more importantly, Mr. Rajbansi's daughter, eldest daughter, was my financial advisor. And in the final analysis, she introduced me to her dad because she knew that I really wanted to be a politician.
And did Mr. Rajbansi introduce you to politics, or you were already a politician before you married him?
I already was, as I said, from school days, but in my interaction with the community, it was the Phoenix community that actually spurred me into getting into active politics because of their different needs. But obviously, I cannot take away the fact that Mr. Rajbansi actually trained me for that 1 year in 1998 to fight the 1999 election, and he got me to where I am today.
Lovely. Now, I'm sure our viewers are also very curious to know. Mr. Rajbansi and you hosted the late Nelson Mandela as well. What was like that? I'm sure you didn't cook like it was any other ordinary guest that day. So tell us a little bit more about that evening. I know the whole of Chatsworth was speaking about that visit.
Yeah, Mr. Mandela had missed my wedding, and he was in Mozambique at that time. But he did call that evening of the wedding, and he wished me well. And the one thing he said to me, when I'm back, I'm coming to your home, and I want you to make something with your own hand for me. And he says it can be anything, but it has to be something that you make. And that's how that invitation came about. He came to do a few things. One was to congratulate us on getting married, and two was he came to thank Mr. Rajbansi for his contribution to the struggle as well as to politics in general.
And I want to know, and I'm sure all our viewers out there will want to know, Mr. Rajbansi's trademark sign was, making that hand sign. So did he do that at home as when you were in private with family or things like that?
No, not to me. At home, he was absolutely different from that aggressive, assertive person that, the community came to know him to be. He was just an ordinary, gentle, loving, caring human being at home.
And did he relish the title of the Bengal Tiger that we all knew about him? Did he love that title, or it was something he says, oh, I don't know why they call me that?
No, I think he had many titles given to him in his lifetime, but that was one that he cherished because there was so many or so much of symbolism that went with the Bengal tiger. It was very Indian in origin, and he was always known as an Indian leader. And it sort of went with his character then that he portrayed. And, it was an apt title. You will see that even every song for the minority front was always like Eye of the Tiger or some roar that I then took on after that, Katy Perry song that I use now for my election. So the thing is that it just was...
well, it's a name that, really enhanced his image as a leader. And I'm sure the question all our viewers want to know as well, why did he not have a succession plan? to say on my death, so and so is going to be the next leader. This is her, embrace her, whatever. Because I'm sure you'll all agree. You'll agree that there was so much of confusion as to who was going to head the party after he died. So perhaps you can shed some light on it.
He had made it quite clear to everybody in the party that he was going to train equally. He was going to train me more because I was his wife, and everyone had equal opportunities in the party. So for him, I think there were a couple of things that I think he had to consider. One was that it would look unfair if he just made me the leader of the party. And the other thing is that he had absolute faith in me, that I could stand on my own 2 feet, because I had shown him that I could grow this party from what it was. And the party, in every year when I joined, it had grown, and massively. So I didn't need to prove anything other than that I had the capability. And I think he left me to do that on my own. When it comes to leadership, we have always had this opinion that leadership is without a gender. It's one of those words that's neuter in the dictionary. There's no female name for a leader. You just say a male leader or a woman leader. You just say it like that. So therefore it's genderless, and for that reason it is important, and was for our party, that after his death we had to fight for this leadership. And we had party processes, we had the constitution of our party, which we were guided by. We went by it. Unfortunately, it had to take a court of law to ratify those processes. So finally, when I became the leader of the party, after that long drawn-out court battle, for me it was that thank God it was the judge who had to say it and not my late husband.
No, but I hear what you're saying, because I'm sure a lot of our viewers out there will confirm this. Because it amounts to respect for you as a leader thereafter. If it's given to you on a plate, I mean, you have to doubt people's ability to value your leadership. But seeing that you fought for it, that alone signifies that yes, you do have the mettle to lead that party. And I think that battle that you had really helped you to say, I'm here to stay and I deserve this position. This was not handed to you by your husband.
No, absolutely. I think it's very important for women who are empowered and emancipated to always fight for what they need and what they believe that they're capable of. And when we talk about equality, then that's exactly what equality means.
But I appreciate what you're saying, because a lot of women in politics back down very easily. And you'll find they're not as persistent as they should be. And if you ask me, one of the words that I'd use to describe you is your tenacity. Because despite the odds that kept getting thrown your way, and if you were dodging this ball and that ball, and it was not an easy journey, especially after Mr. Rajbansi's death, and yet you persevered, you hung in there. And that's the kind of strength we are looking for in women, to say, every whether you're a factory worker, whether you're a homemaker, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a political leader, you will get these obstacles, and you need to stand and deal with it. Now, Mr. Rajbansi, at the time, shortly after Mr. Rajbansi's passing, there was a lot of media coverage about his estate and his will, and you being the executrix. Now, without obviously going into personal details, has that issue been resolved, more specifically with, the biological children of Mr. Rajbansi?
Well, I would say it's almost 90% resolved, because we're still at sort of the tail end of winding the estate. It's only a matter of where does the assets actually go. Does it go into the estate first before the trust, or does it go directly into the trust? But that matter is for the courts to decide, because it's sub judice.
Okay. Now, were you surprised who was your candidate for the American elections, and were you surprised with the outcome?
I was surprised about the outcome, but what I was also not surprised about was that, finally it's the will of the people. The people have spoken, and we must accept that and move on.
Mrs. Rajbansi, we have some few short questions for you because we want to get to know a little bit more about the lady. I want you to finish these sentences. The best advice I ever received.
That you must trust a person until they let you down.
My guilty pleasure is.
Oh, it's all flavors of tea.
And my biggest regret.
I didn't spend enough time with my late dad.
And my message to the world is.
Live and let live.
Mrs. Rajbansi, you really are an inspirational woman. I have to tell you that. I've always read about you, I've heard you speak, and it's amazing, you know, your history and how far you've come. And many people might think that, you know, things just landed on your plate, but now we know it hasn't. Do you think your spirituality has given you the grounding that has helped you in good stead to face all of these numerous obstacles you have over the years?
Yes, most definitely. You know, I'm a Hindu. I'm a firm believer in Sanatan Dharma, and that you have to follow the path of right and you have to do good. But my teachings, biggest teachings, come from the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Shri Krishna says, do your duty and do it well, and then all will be well. And I believe in that. That's how I live my life every day. You need to question yourself all the time, what are you really powered by? And nothing gives you a better grounding than spirituality.
Such wise words from such a wise woman. Mrs. Rajbansi, thank you. It's been amazing having you here on our show, and we really wish you all the best in your future endeavors, both personally and politically. So thank you very much. Vanakkam.
Thank you. Vanakkam and namaste.